Welcome back to the Free Miles MC YouTube channel, and we are standing here with potentially one of the most gorgeous motorcycles from 2025, the Royal Enfield Classic 650, and what a gorgeous bike that is. However, we will ask the question, is looking good enough? Let's start with some of the specs. The bike is powered by the 648cc air and oil-cooled engine that Royal Enfield uses in a lot of their motorcycles, which has 47 horsepower and 52 Nm of torque. However, the bike is also the heaviest bike Royal Enfield ever built, coming in at 243 kilos. Will that engine be enough is another thing that we will find out when swinging a leg over this motorcycle, which I will be doing now. But before we take it on the road, how is it to sit on? For me, coming in at 6'5", it's relatively comfortable. I almost slip off the seat once when getting on the motorcycle, but that's because I'm tall. Otherwise, that would not be a struggle. But in general, it feels like a proper big motorcycle, which is a feeling that the smaller Classic cannot really give you. So in that way, it's really nice. And now, let's get the bike on the road. The Royal Enfield Classic 650 is a surprisingly difficult motorcycle to review because it really blends the line between statement piece and motorcycle. Also because it really contradicts my usual riding philosophy. I see motorcycles strictly as a tool, and motorcycle riding not necessarily as a hobby. Yes, motorcycles are cool, fast, and fun. However, I mainly use them to experience a great adventure, combine it with a different hobby, or just because I don't like sitting in traffic. So what am I supposed to do with a motorcycle that has that much focus on its appearance? The Royal Enfield Classic 650 is the kind of motorcycle you don't want to get a single bit of dirt or scratch on, so it's not the motorbike for wild shenanigans. Also, the Classic 650 is too wide and too heavy to just constantly cut through traffic and use it as a worry-free city bike. Also, the chrome requires too much attention to take it on a longer motorcycle camping trip. So how did I end up spending the most time I ever did on a motorcycle outside of making my YouTube videos on this motorcycle? The image that classic motorcycles have is surrounded a lot by the appeal that old actors like Steve McQueen had, and a desire to imitate that kind of coolness or masculinity. So yes, riding your classic motorcycle built in 2025 to the next coffee shop on a Sunday is performative. However, it does feel really good, and the Royal Enfield Classic 650 does that really the best. So really often when it came to motorcycle riding, I kind of looked down on people who only went to the coffee shop with their motorcycle. However, with the Classic 650, I'm kind of embracing that. And it's actually kind of nice to just get your caramel iced latte and ride your pretty bike for a bit and then put it back into the garage and clean it and make it look nice. And that has its own appeal, even though it's really far away from my own way of using a motorcycle. The main draw for me of the Classic 650 that it's a way of expressing personality, similar to a nice suit shirt or a nice leather jacket. And this motorcycle really introduces you into a social circle of certain kind of people who like old cars, nice coffee, vintage clothing. I literally got approached by other people every day I was out with this motorcycle. The attention that this motorcycle gets is off the charts. Really often you have people taking pictures of you. This is literally a snapshot of when I turned around and saw someone take a picture of me and the motorbike and turned around and asked him to send it to me. However, a motorcycle this gorgeous doesn't just get attention from nice people, because sadly, motorcycle theft is on the rise in the UK and all over Europe because the margin on stolen motorcycles and motorcycle parts are really high and they're really, really easy to steal. Even a lock doesn't really protect you. The bike can just be lifted into a van, and this is where today's video sponsor comes in, Moni Moto, with the Moni Moto 9, which is a tracking device that links up with a key fob on the keychain, and it's completely dust-proof and waterproof, and the charge holds for a whole year, and you just put it anywhere on your bike, and you instantly get an alert if someone moves your motorcycle on your phone, and then instantly can get after it, contact the authorities, and get your motorcycle back. It really helps me sleep better at night, and definitely check out the link to their website in the description and pinned comment and use the code FREEMILES, which will give you for the next 30 days a 10% off, and it also supports the channel if you use the code. And thanks to Monimoto for sponsoring this video. As I was saying, the attention of other people that this bike gathers is absolutely insane. You sometimes have 5 to 6 people standing around you asking questions about the motorcycle, and as I just stumbled across this Ford Model A that has been really nicely restored, it brings me to a point. A lot of people think that this is an old bike and that you just restored it, which really often leads to the kind of weird conversation of, no, it's actually a bike from 2025. And this brings me also to another point, because the colorway on this Ford Model A behind me is incredibly nice and gorgeous, and the glossiness of the paint looks so good. And I am so happy that Royal Enfield has its nice colorways with this motorcycle, because it's a unique draw of them as a brand. And sadly, even though they have these really nice colorways, not a lot of people order them. A lot of people still order their bikes in black and whatever. And definitely, I want to encourage anyone seeing this video to get this bike in one of the really nice colorways. My absolute favorite, that for me also sells the bike and why I like it so much, is this blue colorway. And just the attention to detail is incredible. In many ways, this bike doesn't just look like something reminiscent of something like the Ford Model A, but the craftsmanship that went into something like this is in some ways close. Like, you have the hand painted lines on the tank, which are really nice to look at, where you also see minor imperfections on it, but that's not a bad thing. It has been painted by someone with a brush, and that's really nice. And that the retro look of this bike is basically managed so well into the deepest attentions of detail. Like, for example, the blinkers look really nice. This is one of the first things you often notice with something like that, but also little small details. Like, for example, if you look into the instruments in the cockpit of the motorcycle, you have the key off to one side. And one thing that I noticed negatively, for example, on the Grilla 450, is that when you twisted the key, that the key was sideways in the lock. Here, the key forms a nice line with the rest of the design when you flick it on, and with the dash here in the middle and the tripper navigator off to the side, things like the way that all the color and nice craftsmanship is still completed around the area of the foot pegs, where really often you could tell it's a modern bike, but here you can't. So all the tiny little details on this motorcycle really sell this whole old bike feel really well. Okay, by now it's clear the Royal Enfield Classic 650 looks good, but what can I do as a motorcycle? Because we're almost 8 minutes in and have not talked yet really about the road performance. For a cruiser motorcycle with its looks, the Classic 650 handles amazingly in the turns. That even though it doesn't come with the Showa upside down suspension from the Meteor or the Shotgun. However, the Classic 650 comes with shorter peg feelers, so it scrapes later than its siblings, the Shotgun and the Meteor. The Royal Enfield Classic 650 would definitely benefit from a bigger rear tire visually. However, I think that the more sporty 140mm tire definitely helps it with its really nice handling, and I like that they went here with more substance for the motorbike, that you have enough motorbike at the end to go around. Speaking of having enough motorcycle to go around, that brings me to a different topic. The Royal Enfield Classic 650 is the heaviest bike Royal Enfield ever made with the 650 engine. And it's 3 kilos heavier than the Meteor. And the Meteor, I don't want to go that fast on the Meteor. It feels pretty chill. I'm very happy with the cruiser vibe of it. However, I more regularly get the attempt to just want to go with this motorbike, and you then notice the weight of it at some point. It felt a bit like it's a bit more punchy than a 2-liter turbo diesel in a car, basically. That's what I would compare it to. However, that issue can be fixed relatively easily, and that is by the people who buy them. The reason why this is maybe an issue for me is because I'm quite heavy. I'm coming in at 106 kilos plus camera gear plus motorcycle gear. That's then really pushing it. And if you just like don't have that figure, I don't want to body shame anyone, you will not notice this. So basically this advice only goes to the 100, 110 kilo people and above. They will notice it, but everyone else is fine. There's definitely another disclaimer that I have to give, and that is, this is not a beginner motorcycle. Yes, it's beginner powered. Yes, every beginner could ride it. However, the maintenance requires experience with motorcycles or someone in your family being already acquainted with that. Because this bike has a lot of chrome and the open aluminum, and that's already a challenge in itself on any other bike. And there is a bit the prejudice towards Royal Enfield that they tend to struggle with these kind of parts. And this prejudice is not really a prejudice, it's kind of true. And that is noticeable on this motorcycle as well. It's a pretty new bike, test bike, 4,000 kilometers on the clock. There's rust in both exhaust ends. On one part it has already been fixed with some paint over it, and there's rust on the suspension. And I'm not saying that this bike will 100% rust. I'm saying it takes basically the maintenance to prevent that from doing. And if you don't do that, the bike will suffer and you will not be all that happy about it. So really look into yourself, who you are as a person. Are you the type of guy that cleans his motorcycle really regularly, every time it was in the rain, puts it into a garage, and that also requires some expertise that you would like kind of don't have as a beginner rider. And also I think even if you would have, first go out and enjoy what motorcycle riding is about before you get into those things. And in a way, it's okay with this motorbike because this motorbike kind of attracts the people that want the really nice look, and basically it looks like a really old motorcycle and you're getting a little bit of old motorcycle maintenance in that sense. So I think all that is fine, and also the bike is built to a price point. It's $7,000, and the bike even could be more expensive because like really often when I talked to people, they were surprised by how cheap the bike is, and also were kind of put off by it. Like I talked to people who are really amazed by it, who are maybe into expensive cars or other expensive bikes, and then were like, ugh. So basically that's also a deterrent for some of those people. What I think how Royal Enfield could fix that is if they make these bikes more customizable from the factory, because I see a lot of potential in there. For example, I don't really like that gas cap that much, and I would love to have the gas cap of the Interceptor on here. And little other things, because like this motorcycle is so beautiful also with this colorway. It's kind of reminding me of the Latin American cruisers. I need to correct myself here. I meant the Chicano style, which was popularized by Mexicans that were working in the United States in the 1940s to 1970s. Like with the really high handlebars or the really low handlebars, from the way that the color and everything looks. And I would love to be able to put some of those parts on there, like a raised handlebar, or have like a different suspension in the rear that's maybe lower, or like other custom parts that are available for other Enfields and that maybe fit on here because many of the parts are shared. And I think Royal Enfield could really do well with that kind of approach to basically it being possible that your $7,000 Classic 650 costs 10, 12 with all the bells and whistles and all the really nice parts that you could get on it, similar to how a company like Morgan does it. I think that would be really cool and would also attract a lot of people. As you can tell, I'm really happy with the Classic 650. It's tough for me to put into words why, because I just like the bike. I just like the bike on a subjective level. I'm like, yeah, like this, would like to own it. Pretty cool. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the review on the Royal Enfield Classic 650, and remember to check out the Monimoto 9 with the code FREEMILES, and see you guys in the next video.